For two people who have spent the last 2 years sharing their resources, it's amazing that after a week-long conversation about sharing your resources, that we actually could discover some things, and we did. We'll share those discoveries of the week with you around sharing your resources in just a moment on this edition of Today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, we got the blue shirt crew today. You got the memo. Great, Tom. Love it. Friday blue shirt day. And also we're on live late today because we both had a conflict this morning and we were going to record it yesterday. And well, life gets in the way sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes life gets in the way. So how are you doing today?
Like Renegades, we just rolled with it. And this is when we found the time. I
like
love your introduction, Tom. That was really good because we really have been sharing our resources a lot over the last 2 years. And you're right. I didn't think about it until you said it, but there shouldn't have been anything for us to discover this week. But we discovered.
Why would you say that?
Well, because I think we really have talked through this and walked through this a lot together. But clearly there's more to be had. So why don't we get through the celebration part? I'll take over for a minute.
You desperately wanted to, and yet I feel like you didn't really know what you wanted to say. So have at it.
Welcome, everyone. This is Today's Antidote, which that's Tom Brush. I'm Bob Graham. And we come together every weekday. And our goal is really to help you see the world slightly differently, to put a bug in your ear or a thought in your head that's just going to give you a little moment to say, I never considered that. Tom and I are always looking at what's the next step, not the big goal, but what's the next step on the way to that big goal. And this program is a way for us to help people explore different areas. Sharing our resources sounds like a topic that, why would I even consider that? And I've talked to 3 people this week who are like, what do you mean sharing our resources? They're like, my money. I'm like, that's one of them. What about your knowledge? What about your book collection? That you have an encyclopedic book collection about this topic. Have you ever said to someone, hey, if you're looking to get interested in this topic, here's the book? And I think there are all these things that we don't think about. And I think as we went through this week, I thought more and more about what my resources are. And it's a long, long list.
Absolutely.
And I think everyone has a long, long list. So while we do our celebrations, I'm going to encourage you to start thinking about what your resources are. What is it? Whether you share it or not doesn't matter. What are your resources? And you may choose a pen and paper and be like, I want to write this down. I wouldn't blame you. I started writing a list of things down, and I found that some of the things I wrote down, I've never shared with anyone. And there are things that I know people could have benefited from. So there's my preface. A little different than what Tom does each morning. He does a great job, but sometimes I like to shake it up. And, also appreciate that you're here. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, where else can we be?
Instagram,
YouTube, and my favorite, of course, LinkedIn Live.
Yes, indeed. Very well
done. I even do it when I introduce it, too.
I like that. Although you did say I do a great job, and then you used the word but. I was like,
I've got to work on that. That's going to be my goal for the next couple of weeks. No buts.
Yes. For those of you who don't know and haven't been paying close enough attention, that's one of the words I choose not to use.
We should do a week of words Tom chooses not to use.
That would be a really good
week.
I would enjoy that.
I like that. We're going to put that on the list. That's coming up in about 3 weeks, probably, folks. So stay tuned for that.
Vocabulary. Could be about vocabulary.
There you go. We start our program after the introduction part with just celebrations. And just if you're new to this and you're going, why do these guys celebrate something every day? Because you need to find things to celebrate. And I find that now I'm attuned to every day I need to have a celebration. And I even find it carrying over to my weekends. That there are things to celebrate over the weekend. Great weather, time with family, whatever it is. Just, last 2 weeks ago, I would have celebrated the fact that I found a copy of the New York Times and actually could sit down and read it cover to cover. I know I'm old. Newspaper's old. I get it.
That's all right.
So, Tom, do you want to do your celebration first today?
Sure. So my celebration is I'm going to celebrate the value of LinkedIn, which is a turn for me. In the many times in the past, I've talked about some of the frustrations I've had with connections, I'll put in air quotes, that people have been trying to make. And today I followed up with one of those that I thought, well, we'll see where this goes. And today I was fortunate enough to actually have a really great conversation with someone to talk a little bit about things that we shared an interest in, and I could share our perspectives around it. And it was really enjoyable. And it reminded me the value of connections and how beneficial they can be when treated appropriately, and how disgruntled we get when those quote unquote connections aren't really connections. They're just an opportunity to pitch someone on whatever product, service you have, not really in a way to connect and engage and get to know people, and then figure out if there might be some value in you moving forward and being able to share the resources that you have with others. So that's my
I like that. Nice. So my celebration is going to be a little weird, I think, but bear with me. Over the last 2 days, I've talked to two people that I thought really understood the value they bring to me in a organization I've been leading for the last couple of years. I really thought these two people totally got how much they had affected me, influenced me, really that I value them. And I had reason to share with one because I wanted this one to take over a board leadership role, president of the board, so I wouldn't have to be it anymore. And I said to her, you're perfect for this for these reasons. And she was shocked by that. She was choked up, and then she said, I had no idea you thought of me this way. And then I was talking to another person in that group today, and I said to her, you're like the glue of this place. I've literally spent the last 2 years praying you didn't call me and say, I need to resign. And she was surprised by that. She's like, oh, I don't do it. You do this, 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 you do this. And I think we don't share as much as we should, the value people have for us, both professionally and personally. And that really jumped at me in both those cases. Those were two people. If you had said to me on Tuesday, who knows you value them, they would have been on the list, though I never shared it with them in the way I did in the last couple of days. I think my celebration is that I found a way to share it with them, and it worked out, because I would have really felt bad if a year from now they're like, well, I did this and Bob didn't even value me.
I'm curious, because
Sure.
I'm pretty curious. And I know that when I say that, there's a tingle goes up the back of your neck, and you're like, oh God, what's coming now? Would you have made those statements without our conversation yesterday about oversharing? So we talked yesterday all about oversharing. And I thought it was a really good episode and some really interesting things in there. Bob got a little uncomfortable, which is always secretly one of my goals in every day. Not true. But I thought it was a really good conversation around whether there actually can be oversharing. Because in reality, when you shared that information with them, a lot of different things could have happened, right? You had no control over the results, how they were going to take that, how they would follow up, all of which could have gone away that would have potentially made you feel uncomfortable sharing it.
Okay, so Tom, here's what you've just done. You've turned the overthinker in me on turbo, and I'm now playing back both of those discussions and going, should I have not said what I said to those people?
Look at what happened when you did. Look at what you brought to them.
Right.
But if you had never have said that, just like you were about to say, a year from now, I would have hated to look back and thought that they didn't think I saw the value in them that I did. And potentially, there might have been a time in your life where you had shared something like that with someone and the results didn't go the way you thought.
I would have shared it differently in the past.
Okay.
I think I didn't think about our program yesterday and how it might have influenced it, but perhaps it did. I made the invitation. I'd like you to consider something, and I want to explain to you why I think you'd be that person. Would you like to hear? Oh, of course. And the person today, hey, I know you've been through a lot. She had some physical things going on, and I said, you've been through a lot. I feel like I'm called right now to tell you how great you are and how much you've done for this organization. I said, would you like to hear it? She's like, oh my God, that'd be so great. So I solicited the opportunity. If either of them had said no, I was prepared to walk away from it. And
how would you have felt then?
I would have sent them each a note, probably.
Okay.
And part of what, this is getting a little too about me, I guess, but part of what I've realized is we don't share the value of people enough. I've never done that. I've gotten better at it in the last couple of years, because what I've seen is I'm a words of affirmation guy. That's my love language. And if I can share with people what they mean to me, they share with me what I mean to them. And it's not a one-to-one, and I don't solicit it for that reason, but it certainly helps that. And I think in business, the connection I'll make, because this sounds really personal, but in business, I think when we can, as we're being renegades and carving our own unique path, it's kind of nice when you can say to someone, hey, it sounds like you're like a renegade. Like I explained to a guy this morning what being a renegade was in my eyes, because he saw a bracelet I wear and it says renegade. And he literally fit the definition to a T. And I explained to him what it is. And he said, you think I'm one? I'm like, yeah. Don't you? He's like, I've never used that word, but the way you're describing it, yeah, that is me. And what he was describing to me is, I get up early each morning. I was at a networking event last night till 10:30. I had to be up at 5:30 for this event. I've got 2 more networking events today. I'm a business development person. And I've got things all weekend for my job. And I love it. It really inspires me. I love meeting people. I love connecting people. I'm like, dude, you're a renegade. Because you didn't say to me, I've got to go to this stupid networking thing. I can't believe these guys meet at 7:30. I got to drive from Westminster to Hunt Valley. Then I got to drive down to Baltimore. And then I got to be in Annapolis. Then tomorrow morning I have to be in Bowie. Because he told me all those locations, but he didn't say it in a way like he was excited about it.
Yeah, it's great.
And I think, the more we share what we get from other people, I think the more they're willing to share with us, more of what we get from them and other stuff.
And maybe others as well.
Yes.
It's not always about what do they share with us. Sometimes I think it's one of those things that Bob Berg talks about in his book, one of my favorites, The Go-Giver, is that it doesn't have to be a one-to-one thing. It can be that they then feel more comfortable sharing with somebody else. Like, wow, look how good I felt because Bob chose to share this with me. Wonder what it would be like if I actually shared this with somebody else who I wasn't positive.
Right.
That they knew the value that they provide to me, personally, professionally, whatever the case might be. And when they do that, they then get to experience exactly what you did today. The value of, wow, I can't believe that they didn't, you could easily go back and say, well, what didn't I do? Or you could just say, you know what, I'm so glad that I did this now.
Right.
And maybe that if I do this more often, I will help others by sharing with them the value that they bring when maybe no one else is telling them that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's part of sharing our resources, right?
Of course.
One of the big resources we have is our heart, and how people affect us in positive or not positive ways, and being able to share that, I think, is part of the sharing of resources. That again, on that list, that's not on my list. My list doesn't include sharing people's value to me in a way they understand it when it makes sense for them to understand it. Like, I think I've been with you personally, I've tried to be very, very strategic about, I've got to thank Tom for all he does for me. It's been a wild couple of months, and you've been there every step of the way. And if you don't know out there in the world, we have our program that lasts maybe 30 minutes. And then there's usually Tom coaching me through the various aspects of my personal life that are somewhat chaotic at times. And that can take anywhere from 15 minutes to, I think our record's about an hour and 40 minutes. And
Good.
Tom so far has not charged me for this. He keeps talking about, how much I pay my therapist and I should pay him, but he hasn't sent me the invoice. And I've changed addresses recently just to make it harder for him.
Fair enough. So what is your discovery of the week? Let's dive into it.
So I think my discovery of the week is what we've been talking about for the last couple of minutes. That's not what I was going to say, but that really is the discovery to me. And also the list of all the resources we have. And we think about, well, I worked at this job, so I can network with people over this. But there's a whole world of knowledge we each have and experience that is available to people. And I think we wait for them to ask, hey, you worked in this industry, what was it like?
Right.
I think sometimes it's more we have to, hey, I see you're looking at a job in this industry. I used to do this in that industry. You might want to pick my brain before you do an interview. Or can I tell you what I discovered about that industry? Like I have a family friend who covered the Baltimore Orioles for a number of years for a newspaper. Some of the stories he tells about covering a baseball team makes me happy that I never went into sports journalism, because it's about the work. It's about the grind of travel and all that stuff. And it demystifies it very quickly.
Sure.
And those stories are hard to hear because I want Cal Ripken and I want Manny Machado to be these mythical figures. And he's like, yeah, Cal Ripken traveled alone. He didn't really talk to people much. It was hard to get interviews with them. And it's like, oh, that's not the guy I thought you dealt with. And I totally get it. I'm not saying, look, I'm the biggest Cal Ripken fan out there. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. So don't call Cal and tell him.
Because Bob was bad-mouthing him.
Well, he may know me because his father kicked me off their property when he got fired by the Orioles.
Some of your knowledge and experience.
Some of my knowledge and experience, which I didn't even think would come up today. There it is.
Well, I think that's the thing that I think one of the things that's hard for people to see is how expansive their resources are. And it's interesting. I did a poll on LinkedIn about that, about what resource do you have that's the most valuable? And the last I looked, no one put their financial resources.
Right.
Now, the people who are looking at my stuff might have a little different perspective. Many of them are nonprofit people. A lot of them are coach people. And so that might be like, I don't want to be the one person who says, oh yeah, money is the most. There are clearly people out there who money might be one of the most valuable resources that's possible, and that they see it as that as well, which is okay. It's fine. But I think when the other things that were included were your time or your talent, and then your knowledge and your experience. And many people, to my surprise, were putting their knowledge and experience as their most valuable resource. And I think that's the one we forget about the most, is that no one else has gained the knowledge that we have, has had the experiences that we have, and has developed the perspectives that we have. No one.
Right.
And so we all have a lot to share if we are willing to take the step that you took this morning and decide that I'm going to share this today with someone else. And
so what's your one thing?
We don't do one things on Friday.
Oh, that's right. Your discovery of the week. Oh, I fell into the trap.
You did. That's okay. I think my discovery of the week is that, because it's funny, we were talking about oversharing yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think had you asked me about that on Monday, I'd have had a very different response. I would have thought about things like too personal or too much. Kind of the typical oversharing things.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those. I've heard that.
And how many times do you say something and somebody's like, oh my God, the latest thing, TMI, not latest things, probably 10 years old, but TMI, like that's too much information.
Tom just got TMI, and we're hoping next week we're going to teach him LOL.
LOL, that's a new one.
And then the week after, ROF, LOL.
Yeah, how many times do people still say, do you hear them say, oh wow, that's too much information? Usually it's about something personal. Usually it's about something maybe, I don't know, not deviant, but that you might think of as
controversial,
or very, very private. Let's put it that way.
yes,
Or controversial. And maybe they just felt like they needed to share it. And that's okay. Like, obviously, if you're willing to share it, it's comfortable for you. And maybe you
need to share it.
You need to share it and thought that it might be comfortable for them and that either it would add value to them or that they would have value to share back to you that could be beneficial. And, and I think we're so afraid of that. We're so afraid of somebody saying, oh, that's too much information, or I don't need to know all of that, or rather than taking a moment and really trying to listen and understand, like, what is it they're sharing and what piece of information can I take away from that? Might be very small, might have a very little impact, and yet it could also be significant that we hadn't thought about. It was interesting. I'm going to talk about this. You'll find this interesting. So Bob and I were at this meeting today.
You're messing with me. It's funny. The speaker was going long and you're going long and I got to get out of here and now you're going long.
Just quickly, what I'll say is that he used language that was very similar to some of the language we use that I thought was fascinating.
Yes.
And there was parts of that I was like, there is something about the language we use. Whether I enjoyed the rest of his conversation or not, or found value in it or not, didn't matter, because there was value in him saying some of the same things that we are saying, that we talk about, or that I talk about. And I thought that there was value in that. That's
awesome.
So that's my
Tom, we could talk about this all day and all night. And folks, if you want to have that discussion all day and all night, feel free to put it in the comments, or you can go to the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Join us there. We're talking about these topics all week. Next week, we will have a new topic. It's caring. And we'll talk about what caring looks like, how you show you care. Do you show you care? Why do you want to show you care? Can you over care? I know this is something that I look forward to talking about, because I find with some of my clients, I get very heavily invested and the scales tip, and sometimes it can even make it hard to do business. So all that's coming up next week. If you want to do us a huge favor, share what we're doing with someone else. You know someone who can use the messages we're delivering. It's a great way to start that sharing of resources by just sharing this resource with people. Hey, I was listening to these guys. I thought it might resonate with you. Did I miss anything, Tom?
I think you've done a very nice job of hosting the show today. Must be because you didn't host the meeting today that you were looking for something to host, even though you say you don't want to. Fascinating. Anyhow, thanks so much for being with us today, everyone. We hope that you go out and have a great day. We look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. If not, we will see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, our usual time, for the next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and share your resources. There's someone out there that wants something you know, or something you've done, or some experience you've had, or some insight you've discovered.
There, you have lots of things to share, and think about what are some that you hadn't considered sharing with someone else.
There you go.
Make it a great weekend. Take care. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.